structure and strategy relate to each other, and how sometimes we can use strategy to modify and change structure. What do we mean by structure? Structure basically refers to the external environment, the business environment which is outside of the firm. What kind of elements do we find in the external environment? Can I see some hands, please? External environment. And I want you to think SWOT analysis. I want you to think Pestle. I want you to think Porter's 5 forces model. Right? We've studied that in other courses. So, what do we find in the external environment? Hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Government, sir.
Government.
Economical conditions.
Economic conditions.
Opportunities, threats,
Opportunities, threats. All of these are coming from the outside environment. Competitive environment, right? Industry rivalry.
Changing customer needs.
Changing customer needs, okay. Also external would be driven. But that could also be internally driven, right? The firm can also drive customer needs. But anyhow, we understand that the external environment are all those factors which are like, okay, so we can say we don't have control. They are basically given in an environment. Right? And what are assets are capabilities and resources. These are internal to the firm. So examples of capabilities and resources. Hands. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay, let's go.
The human resource employees?
Human resource, yes, absolutely.
The production capacity.
Production capacity, factory, plant.
Resources?
What kind of resources?
All our assets.
Assets and resources.
Technological resources. Network, the infrastructure.
Infrastructure of what?
Of the company, the network.
The company, infrastructure, network, franchises, logistics, supply chain. Technological resources, intellectual property, patents, all of that is our. Anything also capable, under capabilities is anything that we are good at, that we are really, really good at. So, for example, company like IKEA, what are they good at?
Customizing furniture.
Customization, what else? Something.
Optimizing the customer experience.
Design. Okay, very, very good design. Okay, company like Zara again.
Right.
Fashion, fast fashion.
Can we say innovative?
What are they? Innovative. But again, if we want to be more specific, then Zara is very design oriented. It's very good in design. They can fast design, and then not just design, but they have flexible manufacturing that can put the design on the shelves in the shortest possible time. So here we are talking of capabilities. So resources is what we have. Capabilities is what we can do. Speed, flexibility, agility, creativity, innovation, all of these are capabilities. More than resources. These are things we can learn. We can learn to do. Okay, now, and last, let's come to strategic orientation. What is meant by this? Remember, we're trying to get to strategy, designing our strategy. But what is our strategic orientation?
It's how we market our product, what we present to the customers.
Okay, something more fundamental, more basic than that. Strategic orientation.
एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट को देखते हुए कैपेबिलिटीज और रिसोर्सेज को कहाँ एलोकेट करना है, उसके हिसाब से स्ट्रेटजीज बनाई जाए वो
Market needs.
Okay, see, strategic orientation is basically asking the question whether you are a fish or you are a bird. whether you're an SUV or you're a sports car. They are designed for different things. Sports car does different. It can go from 0 to 100 in
3 seconds.
3 seconds, 3.5 seconds, okay? And that's what a sports car can do. An SUV or a beach buggy can do things which a sports car can't. Off-roading, yeah. So it's your strategic orientation. What are you good at? What is the company's DNA? And usually the DNA is found in the founders of the company, in the early strategic moves that the company made. It is found in the CEO. Yeah.
Can we say it is the purpose of the product?
Purpose of the product. We can say the company's strategic orientation. Is this company essentially innovative? Do they have an innovative spirit? Is this company essentially a low-cost player? Walmart is not a very innovative company, but they are
They are profitable.
profitable, low cost.
Because they are cost leaders. Because they are cost leaders.
So that is their strategic orientation.
Is usually a product unique selling point.
Unique USP. It's even more than that. You have to look at the whole company, the total DNA. Are you a bird or are you a fish? Do you swim or do you fly? What are you good at? That is the question. That's how we define strategic orientation for a company. Anyhow, so once we go through this exercise of, and we go through this exercise by bringing in your C-suite. All this chief marketing officer, chief technology officer, chief financial officer. They say, okay, what is it in our environment? Is it favorable or is it unfavorable? Let us, for the sake of simplicity, divide it into binaries. Although the word is not always that simple, but we will say that what kind of external environment would be unfavorable? When would it be? Give
There
an
are no
example.
more opportunities.
And yes.
The government regulations, there are higher regulations, strict regulations, make it unfavorable.
Too many regulations, too many restrictions. Yes.
When there are no more opportunities to grow.
When there is limited opportunity to grow.
Economical instability.
When the state of the economy is not very good, we say that the economic environment is challenging. So the example of multiplex cinemas that we looked at, not growing, the industry is not growing, the industry is saturated, it's gone to maturity, it's advanced stage of maturity before the decline actually sets in.
But they were more dependent on Bollywood and something and
Yeah. So that say the environment becomes unfavorable. When COVID came, then traditional retail the environment became unfavorable all of a sudden because of one external environment. People stopped going to shopping malls. And why would you go to a shopping mall when there was a lockdown and you were confined in your home? Because all you need is a pair of jeans and a pair of slippers, and you need your phone and you need Netflix, right? You don't really need to buy too many things. So that was an unfavorable external environment. When is this external environment favorable? Under what conditions? Yes.
So customers who have extra cash, then you would get.
When there's a lot of cash in the economy, customers have cash.
favorable to the companies who were exporting and who were making masks or products like sanitizers.
Okay, so in the case of, I think in the time time of COVID, companies making masks, for them suddenly the environment became very favorable. Yes.
Sir, when all the environmental factors became flexible, like अगर economical condition है तो cash की बात की उन्होंने मेरे पास cash है, अगर मैं government की बात करूँ policies में flexibility हो, मेरे पास बाहर opportunity हो, industries में grow करने का option हो तो
So we see that external environment conditions can be favorable or they can become unfavorable in industry or something.
Business-friendly policies or ease of doing business.
Yeah. That can also have a bearing on the environment, right? Government policy, it can have a bearing on the absolutely. Interest rates can have, like nowadays, the interest rates all over the world they're very high. It's unfavorable because borrowing is very expensive. Inflation.
Scarcity, when there is
Purchasing power, scarcity, purchasing power of people. Oil prices can also have a bearing on the external environment. So all of these are factors that can sometimes be favorable or unfavorable. Once moving beyond, I said get the C-suite in. So the C-suite comes in for any company, then I think in a matter of 6 or 7 minutes, they fill up the board with what are the factors in the external environment that are affecting us, that are affecting our performance, that are affecting business. They'll be able to get it down in no time. And then they'll also be able to put them in 2 columns, favorable, unfavorable. Which is, overall is the environment more favorable or overall is the environment more unfavorable? What would it take, what factors would need to change for the environment to become favorable? So all of these are questions and that they become part of our analytical framework. Okay, so moving on, still with the C-suite, this becomes a bit more difficult because usually when you talk to the C-suite, you'll have very different responses to what are the capabilities and resources that we have that that are needed to become really, really successful at what we do. So if you talk to the company's chief supply chain officer, obviously the answer is going to be, I'm the most important. Supply chain. Be good at this, to be successful in this business, we need to run the best supply chain. We have the best team, we have the best supply chain, and I'm the best supply chain officer in the industry. That's what they'll say. The CTO will say something else. क्या कहेगा?
You have the best technical team. You are able to
No. He said, no. You run everything on the technology that I make. So I'm more important than you. The backbone of the technology is what that's where all comes from.
The technology comes first.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So they'll still have a lot to say when we fill up the board. That these are the things that are really important in terms of capabilities, in terms of resources. We can also talk about money. We can talk about HR, training, quality of HR, right? If you are a company like Zara and design is your key success factor, then you will have some of the most expensive, I think your pay scales for designers are going to be probably towards the top. And the pay scales for the accountants are going to be according to benchmark with the rest of the industry. You don't need to pay the accountants so well, do you? So it's also telling us where to direct our resources, where to put our money. And lastly, strategic orientation. I think there will not be too much of a difference. Most people would be able to come, or the C-suite would be able to give have a quick consensus around the fact that we are driven by innovation. We are driven by low cost. We are driven by design. We are driven by, quality here. It depends what your company's DNA is. What is your makeup? Now, when we have all of this comes down, and that becomes our building blocks for strategy, then the question is, now we have two options. One is a structuralist approach, and one is a reconstructionist approach. Now, can somebody briefly explain what is a structuralist approach? I'd like to see some hands.
It is in which the environment is given to you. If you are operating in an environment that is already existing, while in the Reconstruction, you have to shape the environment. It means that there is no such environment exists. Now you are just shaping it, just like Epic. पहले कोई जो है वो कोई concept नहीं था iPhones वगैरह का, and then it slowly comes down. तो फिर इस तरीके से they were the reconstructionists. So that's what there's a difference.
There are some structural conditions in the industry that we operate and around the company. So let's say that in this particular example, we happen to be Lucky Cement. We're part of the Lucky Group. We're a listed company. We have 3 cement plants in Pakistan. The structural condition is that there is a nationwide demand for cement, and that is driven by the public sector development program. The government being the largest pool, building of roads, building of dams, construction projects, housing societies, high-rise buildings, power plants, what have you. So the construction activity dictates or drives the cement industry. Now this is an industry given. The interest rates also drive the activity in the construction industry. I think also in the structuralist view, when we look at the structure of an industry, I would want to know how many players are there in the industry. So how many cement companies are there? You can just look at the TSX, and it has categories, and there will be one category called cement, and you can count that there are 6, 7, 8. Similarly, you can go to automobiles. So there's Suzuki, Toyota, Honda, right? And then you have the private ones, 8 or 10 maximum. So when we look at the structure of an industry, I would like to know who are the main players, how many players are there, who are the top 3. Then the other thing we see in, for example, in autos, that the industry consists of assemblers and vendors. The vendors make bumpers, lights, windscreens, and the assemblers assemble the final automobile and paint it. That is the structure of the industry. All of the manufacturers follow that structure. So when we look at the software industry, then you can further analyze the structure. There will be front-end developers, back-end developers. there'll be financial technology, fintech players, there will be hardware players, there will be God knows, so there is a structure of for every industry that we can look at, and some basic questions that we can ask to arrive at the structure. But the structuralist strategy is going to maximize performance within the given structure. And we learnt in previous article, Michael Porter's What is Strategy, that there are two generic strategies. So in a structuralist approach, a company will follow one of those two generic strategies. Low cost or differentiation. So that means that our efforts are going to align behind reducing low cost. All our efforts are going to be curtail wastage, get the best procurement from the cheapest sources, okay, and have the fastest turnover, because to sustain low cost, you need to turn over your inventory as many times as possible. So mass merchandise your model. Think Imtiaz, think Walmart. These are low cost leaders. Or it will be differentiation. Then that means all our efforts and alignment is going to be behind this value proposition. What about the Reconstructionist?
Both strategies line together.
Okay, here I'm going to write similarly to simplify assets and capabilities. We can classify them into high, medium, and low. Right? Let's say that that means that we have a lot of resources in the existing structure. So if we were talking about industry structure, let's think oil and gas. Big player, Shell. Shell has assets and resources in the oil and gas sector, and these assets and resources and capabilities have been developed over the decades that Shell has been operating. Of course, today the environment is turning unfavorable for oil and gas. With the climate change, CO2, alternative fuels, renewable energy, so the environment is turning. If today a company had to enter into the oil and gas sector, it would look at today's situation. It would not look at all the accumulated baggage that Shell is carrying. For Shell, following a structuralist strategy would make sense in the oil and gas, because they are coming with high capabilities and resources. The external environment, even though is turning unfavorable over the years, and in the years going forward, it's going to become even more difficult for traditional oil and gas. With the glaciers melting in the polar regions and the climate change and the flooding and what have you. So the future years is going to become more. But still, Shell will want to keep following structural strategy because of this. Because they have the assets and resources and the capabilities. You can't just one day close shop and say, okay, overnight all our capabilities, assets, everything just disappears. So So they will continue to follow the structuralist strategy. Whether they do, in some areas, I think most of the time the energy industry has to be involved. The petrol stations, the refining, the oil prospecting, all of this is very costly. There's very little differentiation. So it has to be low cost. But if there was a new company, a new energy company, really, would they go into oil and gas or would they go into renewables today?
New business.
Oil and gas or renewables? If you
now
want
the
to start,
companies are producing the hydrogen
yeah.
plants, and they're already working.
If you have to start a business today, because not 100 years ago when Shell started, you will consider very different factors. That would be Reconstructionist thinking. It would have to be, one example is Tesla. The automobile industry you mentioned is internal combustion engine. And the internal combustion engine is more than 100 years old in technology. The electric EV is very recent. It's Reconstructionist. But the Reconstructionist thinking, is it going to come from General Motors, Toyota, Hyundai, the traditional players, or is it going to come from companies like Tesla and so many others now, Chinese ones? Yeah, usually comes from outside. It should also come from inside the big players, but it doesn't. Because
We usually copy from
They-
outsiders.
see, the big players, you have learned to think in silos. There's a traditional, there's a conventional wisdom that you will hear that, oh look, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I have 20 years experience. So there is a way of thinking, conventional thinking that works here. And that is rewarded also. New ideas, new opportunities, new risks. They are risky. The tried and tested methods are safe. They work. And if it fails, if the tried and tested method fails, nobody is going to lose his job because nobody did anything wrong. But if you stick your neck out, you take a risk, you do something unconventional, and it fails, what happens? All the blame will come on you. You will lose your job, and people will say, we told you this will not work. So people like to, in big organizations, the idea is to cling to the shoulder. Usually you see the challenging ideas, the world-changing ideas are coming not from within the big companies. They're coming from new companies, startups, from innovation labs, from incubators. And a new idea can be, it can originate anywhere. It can originate in a classroom. It can originate in a university campus. It can originate in a lab. And somebody can just write an article or publish a blog post and describe their idea that we did this experiment.
So do you think the big companies that are not working with change, will they follow the path of, will they become like Nokia?
Explain yourself.
मतलब Nokia ने जो है वो एक तरीके से अपने आप को मतलब change उसने adaptability नहीं दी।
We usually don't want to
They-
sample change.
obsolete.
Philips.
It's like this.
Will big companies become will they become dinosaurs? Like the dinosaurs went extinct.
But this somehow they have to follow the path of change. You can't just stay behind and just be trapped in.
They can do incremental change, big companies. But when they learn to backflip, can teach an old dog new tricks.
But technology is changing by destructive.
So it's a very difficult question. I think, intuitively we know that they won't. That the big companies, they will only change when the change is forced upon them. And even then, some of them will change and some of them will just go down. Some of them may transform their business model. Like, the big banks, the big full service bank, all under one roof. No, HBL, Barclays. Now with all these fintechs eating into coming up with different value propositions, is there going to be room for a full service bank? So this is something to think about.
The big fintech banks are taking the.
I'm thinking of PayPal. eBay, no, not eBay, but small savings transactions, category killers, basically.
In Pakistan, easy paisa.
B2B payments, easy paisa for the unbanked poor. Big B2B payments, Alipay. Alibaba is the biggest portal for B2B transactions. And if they have a financial service inside Alibaba, you don't need to go to the bank. You can just open an account and then you can open a letter of credit inside Alibaba. Where does that leave the bank? The bank will see that 80% of our transactions have disappeared. Because now they're all happening inside the electronic data interchange, where all the buying and selling is being done. Right. So that's Reconstructionist thinking. Reconstructionist comes where the external environment most likely has started to become unfavorable. Okay, where we don't have the capabilities and resources that it takes to become successful in the traditional structure. We don't have those. We don't have the asset, we don't have the capabilities and resources, but we may have an idea. We may have a world-changing idea. And that external environment unfavorable, assets and capabilities, resources and capabilities low, and lo and behold, we have an idea, and we take it into the Reconstructionist.
So do you have any examples of organizations who have turned down the table?
I just gave you one, Alibaba. Alibaba changed B2B, business to business, wholesale, you can call it, trade, international trade, in ways never seen before.
Is Baikia is the company for
Baikia here.
अनफेवरेबल एनवायरनमेंट है इन्फ्लेशन की वजह से लोग करीब ऊपर को इतना ज़्यादा भी करते हैं इस वजह से बाइकिया को कर रहे हैं और लोग रिसोर्सेज भी
Alternate option is always available. Alternate option is always available.
Alternate option is available.
क्या कर सकते
The article mentions one.
हैं
नहीं, iTunes,
iTunes.
Apple iTunes.
Yes.
It was a response to a Reconstructionist approach. Put the music in your pocket, 1,000 songs in your pocket. That was the initial, before the iPhone. iTunes came, I think, in the early part of this century. Huh? Was it iPods? iPods and then iTunes. Little box. So that was an example of Reconstructionist. Napster was another one. Napster was music sharing online. Very, very initial. Skype was another one.
Yes.
You had to build big infrastructure for
Zoom.
for telecoms. You had to build big infrastructure, towers, cellular, fiber optic cables, right? And then you needed to have a telecom license. And that was the traditional structure, the structuralist approach. If you wanted to build a telecom company, in those days, you would need hundreds of millions of dollars of investment to build a telecom company. First, just taking a license. And then you had to be in one country. Every country you had to take a different license. But Skype is cut across everything. Put a little host on your computer. Yeah, this was pre-smartphone era.
Yes.
Pre-smartphone. So
Just after 2005.
yeah. And so that was a Reconstructionist, again, idea to change the world. And video calls, mind you. It was unheard of at that time. So it's very common. FaceTime, WhatsApp, so many applications. So that's Reconstruction. But the strategic orientation of Skype's founders was very different to BT, British Telecom. British Telecom would never develop something like Skype. They would kill their own business. So much so that some countries like Etisalat in Dubai, they banned Skype because it was eating into their revenue. WhatsApp calls are still banned in Dubai. You know that. You have friends there. No? You can't make a voice call. They use VPN. Bypass. Huh? Can't hear you. Yeah, that's what I Dubai is they use voting. Yeah, because that does a bypass. Anyhow, this route basically comes when you don't have when the environment is favorable, or it could even be unfavorable. It could be favorable or unfavorable, but because you don't have the resources and the capabilities. So we have to take this Reconstructionist. But we have an idea. An idea can be a very good substitute for lack of resources.
So one more thing is tapping the opportunity here. If you are having low capacity resources and external environment are not favorable, just like when we see Kababji's fried chicken, local businesses को बीच में एक boom आया था कि local businesses को जो है वो promote करें, तो उन्होंने अपना fried chicken launch किया and doing a good amount of business. Same goes for Cola Next now. They have increased their capability in the production capacity. Logistic को जिस तरीके से उन्होंने manage किया, they are getting volume.
Those are improvements. There's nothing here to say that you can't make improvements day to day, every day. You can't launch new products. You can't do line. Here we are talking about reshaping the industry completely.
Kickstart is one of the examples.
Kickstart, co-working spaces.
They are providing space for remote space.
So the traditional model was that you wanted to open a company, you had to go rent an office, right, buy furniture, get a telephone connection, and God knows there was a buy a generator, no registration.
You don't need to invest in asset or capital. You just put.
Now you have workstations, plug and play. You have meeting rooms. If a client comes to meet you, tea and coffee is available. Right? Receptionist, manned reception, and a mailing address. What more do you need? So this is the idea of serviced offices. There was a company called Regency. How many of us have heard of it? So they have a global serviced offices. It's a Kickstarter in Pakistan. And they raised some funding lately.
Vital.
Huh?
They raised money from Vital, no?
Yeah.
200 million.
Yeah. So, now that we have seen that when we are thinking about strategy, we take into account the external environment, we take into account our capabilities and resources and our strategic orientation. And then based on that, based on whether the environment is favorable, unfavorable, based on whether we have resources or not, based on our strategic orientation, and also based on the fact that if we have a world-changing idea, then we can take either a structuralist or a reconstructionist approach. And a structuralist is a traditional approach, and a reconstructionist is one where we will change the industry forever. Innovation. Zara changed the fashion industry, by the way, because in the old days, the fashion industry had 4 seasons. There was the winter collection, the summer collection, spring and fall. There were 4 collections. But Zara has 26 collections. Every 2 weeks they change.
Yes.
So the cycle, the design cycle is much faster. And in the old days it was Armani and Prada and Hugo Boss and Louis Vuitton, yeah. And there were 4 seasons. And that was it. I mean, for decades, that's how it worked. If you went to work in the fashion industry, they told you, look, it starts with 4 seasons, 4 collections. The winter would start around October. Stuff would start arriving. October, November, December was like the peak, like Christmas tree. Then the New Year, there would be a break, and then January would be the sales. Get rid of everything because then the spring collection is coming, the summer collection. That's how it worked for decades. That's how it worked. And Zara comes into you. Take a look. There's a case study worth reading. How they came and reconstructed the fashion industry. And they made it all year round, and then creating a certain scarcity. Because they release very limited inventory on every design. So after it runs out, you don't find that design. So when something is scarce, it's not available, and you know that it's going to run out. The next time I come back to the shop, so that's playing again, it's playing with consumer psychology. It all feeds into the Reconstructionist. So now let's come to the final one, which is all strategy needs to have, or it needs to address the constituencies. Value proposition to what they're addressing.
Customer. So also affect
They could be B2B customers, they could be B2C, it doesn't matter, it depends on what business we are in. There could be multiple sectors. I mentioned Shell. Shell is B2B, B2C, cars, aviation, power plants, railways, okay, all kinds of fuel, multiple customers. So value proposition or propositions have to be for every constituency, every customer segment that we serve. Who do we serve? Remember that one of the biggest questions of marketing strategy formulation is who do we serve? And value proposition is what do we serve them with? Profit proposition,
Companies.
Those companies that are.
how do we make the money? Which constituency are we addressing here?
Sorry?
Which constituency are we addressing? Profit. Who does the profit go to?
Companies.
Companies, stakeholders.
Shareholders. The shareholders, owners of the company. If it's a public company, then it's the shareholders. If it's a private company, the owners, founder, co-founder, DOD, whoever. But more than that, how do we make money? It's very good to have something of value. You give value. What do we get? We get profit. So that's your reward for giving value. The profit proposition is how do we make it? How do we monetize? How do we make the money? And that's addressing obviously the shareholders who are stakeholders, key stakeholders, customers, shareholders. Who are these?
Investors.
Employees.
General public.
Equals.
General public.
General public, not really, but potential employees. Investors are here, profit
Counterparts.
People.
Key suppliers,
is
key suppliers.
employees. We motivate
Key
these
suppliers, buyers, vendors.
vendors, key suppliers, distributors, co-creators, yeah,
They are the
franchises. They are part of our distribution channel. All the players in our supply chain, upstream, downstream. If we are an FMCG, even the trade, the shopkeepers.
so customers can be customers.
Customers
Very
can
good
be
position.
These are the people who make it possible for us to make, manufacture, and deliver our products. It starts with our employees, but then it's not just our employees, it's also third parties, outsourcing. Now, why do they have to be, why do these people have to be kept happy at all times? Why is it crucial to success?
Because they are helping us to implement that strategy.
They are going to execute the strategy. This is the most crucial part because it is the strategy execution is going to happen here.
Basically, they are the enablers.
Enablers or execution. This is all the strategy intent. Okay. So it's very good on paper, it's very good plans, very good description. We're going to do this, we're going to go to so many retail outlets, we're going to make a website, we're going to have an app. It's all very good. These are big words. Who is going to make it happen?
People.
People. Well, guess what? People. What's the problem with people?
They have emotion.
They have emotions.
They
They have feelings.
they get tired.
They get tired. They get demotivated. They get distracted. Right? Machines don't. Machines don't have emotions.
Their priorities changes, goal changes.
Yeah. Chat GPT will not get tired. You can ask as many questions as you want. And it will not get emotional.
There is some.
Huh? It won't say you've been ignoring me and you haven't asked me a question. Chat GPT won't do that. It won't ask for a raise. It will work on the same salary every day. People make your strategy successful, or you can have a very good strategy. But a lot of good strategies fail. Let's quickly look at what the why did. You can come and speak. I'm